Today on Parenting Matters with McCracken, we're going to continue going through Faber and Maslish's book, How to Talk So Kids Will Listen and Listen So Kids Will Talk. We recently talked about how to encourage autonomy in our children. And today we're going to spend a few minutes talking about praising our children and building self-esteem. There's a lot that could be said on this. We're going to mention a few things today, and at another time, we'll look at the subject more closely. But one of the things that we can do is we can describe what we see. We can describe what we see, and then we can sum it up in a word. For example, as usual, in their book, they have a comic in the middle illustrating the points they're trying to make. And there's a picture here of a mother at the table with a piece of, or with a cake where a piece is missing, and says to her daughter, "You only ate a little sliver of cake, even though you really love it." So she's describing what she sees. She's describing what she sees. And she says, that really takes blank. In this case, we might say self-control. So instead of evaluating like great, fantastic, awesome, perfect, instead of evaluating, we can just simply describe what we see, and we can sum it up with a word that has something to do with their character or a positive personality trait, but something about the child that we recognize as being noteworthy. So that's one example, but here's another one. We can also um, look at a picture here of a father in a son's room, and he's talking to his son, and he's saying, "You were all set to go to that concert, and yet when it was canceled, you quickly made other plans." Now, that's what I call being, and he might say something like flexible, flexible, or resilient. Um, in this case, you could fill in that blank with a number of things, but the father is simply describing what he sees, and he's picking a character quality or even a personality quality of his son that he considers praiseworthy or noteworthy. Or how about um, a father talking to his daughter saying, "You stood up for your friend even though the other kids made fun of him." That's courageous, or that's compassionate. Again, describing what they see and summing it up with a word. Here's another example. Father says to his son while looking at the clock, "Hey, you said you'd be home at 5 o'clock, and it's exactly 5 o'clock." That's what I call punctuality, or that's what I call responsibility. Or a mother talking to her daughter, "You noticed that the plants were dry and you watered them." That's what's known as taking initiative. That's what's known as being proactive. You didn't wait for somebody to ask you or tell you to do it. You noticed, you did it on your own. So those are some great examples. Here's one more, summing up in a word. You've been working to memorize that vocabulary list for over an hour. That's what I call perseverance. So, but you can also add how you feel about it. Um, so let's look at what we said already. Describe what you see. I see a clean floor, a smooth bed, and books neatly lined up on the shelf. Now you can add how it makes you feel. It's a pleasure to walk into this room, and then sum up the child's behavior with a word. You sorted out your Legos, toy cars, and farm animals and put them in separate boxes. That's what I call organization. So instead of evaluating them, let's just simply describe what we see, tell them how it makes us feel, and sum it up with a word. These are some ways that we can praise our child in constructive ways and build their self-esteem.